Hello, friends. So this week we are looking at not a website, not a teardown, not my processes, but rather a thread that I posted on Reddit. What I wanted to do was to try and give a bit more value. So I answered some questions. It was really insightful, eye-opening, a lot of questions, a lot of good points that these guys made. But I thought, why not go deeper? If we can show examples and show my face as well. So let's dig into it, right? Okay, so I think we are going to start by looking at questions. This post was actually the idea of posting this started from this article interview that I have on Starter Story, which basically covered a lot of my story. Post the link in the YouTube description. But I wanted to kind of riff off this and go a bit freestyle. So let's check it out. First question, obviously some skeptics, right? How much of those 150K did you make from writing rather than selling a course? This is a huge point that I see in the industry, especially for aspiring copywriters who get into the mindset of like copywriting only being direct response copywriting. So there's two types of copy, right? Mostly direct response, direct marketing, and conversion copywriting. These are the two main branches that you want to look at when you enter into copywriting. Direct response, direct marketing, it's typically the type of copy that you write to sell information products, whether it's courses, whether it's an ebook or videos, digital products. When it comes to conversion copywriting, it can be used for digital products, but it's rather than being long form sales pages and mostly for consumers, conversion copywriting can be used for selling to businesses, and it entails mostly content for site pages, landing pages, emails, anything that has a goal, which can be just clicking on something, signing up for a product or for an email list. So the difference is typically direct response as one single goal, selling one product, usually through a long form sales page or a video sales letter. While conversion copywriting, it's a lot to do with the user experience, conversion rate optimization. So there's a lot more going on there. And that's what I do, conversion copywriting. So a lot of these guys are used to people selling courses in the direct response space. And that's why I think this person comes at me with this, which is totally fair. I understand that, but if we look at my website, especially, you can see that the only thing that I sell, get started, are my productized services, my consulting services, and the custom project, right? So I don't sell courses yet. I might at some point, but the whole purpose for this post was mostly to help aspiring copywriters, right? I don't have secondary goals. I just genuinely like to help people because I see myself when I was starting out, and there wasn't any similar resources or people wanting to share openly. So I said, why not, right? So of those 150K, everything comes from my work with clients, whether it's usually 95, 97% custom projects, this ones, and some productized services and consulting. So that's the gist of it. Why did you post this? Because I mean, let's be honest, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, fair point. I posted this, yes, I wanted to help, but at the same time, it's important when you're starting out as a copywriter and you have something that you want to share or some value that you want to offer people, always think in terms of network effects. Anything that you put out on the internet can have a spiraling effect, can come back to you, and the more valuable you try to make it, the more value will come back to you, right? So that's the frame of mind that I come at for posting these things. trying to put as much value out there as possible so value can come back to me. And it doesn't have to be immediate. I'm usually approaching these with a long term mindset. And again, the intentions, yeah, my intentions were just to help, and I'm super happy that I've been able to. Let's move on. Then they go into, that's another thing. A lot of these posts are about, let me take this out for a bit. A lot of these posts are about money and how much money copywriters make, because I mentioned I went from software engineer to copywriter. A lot of people, I think, prioritize the wrong things, especially earlier in their career. And it's not, I'm not judging, it's just I used to do the same, right? So, but I think, especially at the beginning, what it's best, it's to prioritize the learning. So not really think about, okay, what am I gonna earn doing being a software engineer versus what am I gonna earn being a copywriter. Focus on what you're obsessed about. That's something that I mentioned in one of the answers. What's your obsession? Let your obsession guide you. For me, when I stumbled on copywriting, I was completely obsessed with decision making. All of it was constantly running through my mind, even while I was at my full time job. Every single moment, every single second that I had to dedicate to it, to think through it, I used to. Sometimes, hell, there was even times that for example, I was on like a little break at work. I already done all the work that I needed to do for that time. I put on a podcast in my headphones or watch the video, learn something about copywriting. The more you can absorb yourself in your obsession, the the longer the obsession is gonna stay with you, and the more helpful it will be because it's gonna push you to do more. Let's see another question. We gone through this. Okay, so this is a great question, great point. This person says, and here I am, SaaS copywriter who's thinking about shifting to software engineering. Lol. Do you think it's a bad decision? Reasons for considering the switch are getting tired of marketing bad products, to be honest. I feel like I'd have more impact on the revenue if I'm part of the product, UX, etc. Higher pay, or is it? Can I get your opinion? So this is a very interesting point in the sense that this person starts, they are a copywriter and they start with the frame of mind that they are marketing bad products. This is kind of a red flag for me. If the motivations that push you to do something are external, in this case, the marketing of bad products, I would consider your reasons for being in that space, right? For me, it was all internal. I was truly obsessed with learning the craft and getting better at writing, getting better at getting the yes, getting better at getting people to click, learning from the masters, learning how they learned, anything about the craft kind of obsessed with me, obsessed. So I truly wanted to master it. And I'm still trying, aspiring to master the craft, right? So I would say when you're starting out, consider this. Are your motivation external, extrinsic, or intrinsic motivation? Usually, intrinsic motivations are the motivation that last longer. Another good point, a lot of people maybe sarcastically asked, are you hiring? And to which I always replied, not at the moment. I wanted to always have a lean and mean business. And that's what I'm trying to build. It's just me and my virtual assistant right now. And the reason is I've always been focused on this. This was one of my pointers, another one of my directions when I started the business. There's a good book if you want to kind of get into this, which is called Company of One by Paul Jarvis, I think. But the juice is another thing you should start thinking of when you're starting out. is, are you doing it as a solopreneur? Do you want to build an agency, a team? Because the frame of mind that you approach copywriting in that sense is going to shape your decisions right away from the get-go, right? From building your different processes to the first person that you, maybe a contractor that you start working with part-time. Your decision on whether to go big with a team or solo is going to influence also your offering, because when you're solo by yourself, you will start to frame your offering in terms of products that can scale a bit more, which can be productized services that you can typically do in less time, higher value. While if your goal is to build an agency, then you might probably have one singular type of offering, which can be consulting or custom projects, and you'll start building a team around that and start to delegate all the areas that you used to do yourself. So that's another important frame of mind to consider. Do you want to go big? Do you want to build a team? Or do you want to stay small, solo? For me, it was a lot about also profitability, right? I didn't want to having responsibility to pay a team right away. It might be in a year or two, I still don't know, but from the moment I started, I knew that I wanted to be flexible, agile, and profitable as well. So another great question here, top tips to get started, landing the first client or how to land your first client. How do you recommend we practice? So an interesting find, I was just able to find my old Upwork profile. So you might be able to find it, but I'm not entirely sure. This is my Upwork profile. So this is basically where I started. You can see 10K earnings. You can see I used to be top rated, but I guess being inactive for 5 years removed that. But you can see kind of the jobs that I did, some of the reviews that I got, some of the super old portfolio that I created, the skills, some of the awards that I had with the courses that I'd taken. So I always recommend starting out with actually doing the work, because you'll come at a point where if you've been studying for a year or two, you just want to get stuff done, right? So head on to answer website, which can be Upwork, can also be Acadium is a great option. Acadium basically allows you to work for free 10 hours a week as a freelancer. Typically it's for the more experienced freelancers, but they also have an option with apprenticeships, right? So even if you are not an expert, you can start working for businesses and helping them out and learning from them, because they are basically in return for your learning, for your work, they have to teach you the skills, they have to share their processes. So I actually used them with a freelancer and was pretty good. So check Acadium out. Again, I got nothing to sell. I'm not a referrer for them, but just check it out. There's also Freelancer, I think, is another company. So if you want to check it out, again, good to get stuff done. But the main point here is get stuff done, get some pieces of portfolio up. And the other recommendation that I would get here that maybe I didn't include in my answer here was to curate your brand and your business. That's the most important part. You don't want to seem just like someone who executes tasks. You want to look like a partner for these businesses. And even if these businesses look for cheaper help, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't value your services. You can see that I was charging $100 an hour here. I started from $15 an hour and then I grew up. But I've always considered myself a partner for my clients. And that's why I curated everything around my brand. So my brand was called Skyrocketing Copy, and now the website is not live anymore. But you can see, let me see if I can download this. You can see how I curated my brand. So I had my logo, I had my brand colors. I did all of this myself, right? So this was kind of a super rough wireframe kind of a copy. This was my first client, a client who was basically building concrete floors in the B2B space. So just a quick example. So yeah, a couple of things. Get stuff done after the learning, get portfolio up, curate your brand, and these are the main steps that I would take. As far as landing the first client, again, consider yourself a partner, never count your value, and yeah, in general, try to show that you're passionate and kind of obsessed with the craft and with the value you provide. As far as practice, I mean, a lot of the practice that I did was studying courses, and there are a lot of courses out there, free stuff as well. One that I've always recommend, mega resource, is Copy Hackers. If you're interested, especially in conversion copywriting, which is the website wax related type of copywriting, you can head to Copy Hackers, and they have amazing courses and really helpful free articles in the blog section, including the free tutorials that they run, video tutorials that they run. The other resource that I used was AWAI, which is where I learned a bit more about the direct response side of copywriting. So the course that I took was their 6-figure persuasion course. 7-figure, yeah, they have a course, 6-figure copywriting or something, but this is a good resource. Sign up to their email newsletter, and in general they are a great resource because they teach you a lot about like the basics, a lot about the masters where you can actually learn. And also they are big into hand copying sales letter, which is another good practice that you can do from the get-go, which means just taking successful sales letter from the past, typically from the 70s, 80s, 90s, or earlier, and just hand copy them. I still have reams of notebooks full of sales letters that I hand copied 2, 3, 4 times. And especially as a non-native English speaker, those help me absorb the language, absorb the style of writing, absorb the techniques that these copywriters used. So that's really helpful. Let's move on. This was another great couple of questions. So this person asked, you can just look at this. I'm curious, is it better to focus on finding recurring clients at first or just one-time project clients? How do niches work in copywriting? Do you need one? B2C versus B2B? And what would be the best way to know if you're really good enough to sign clients? First question, better to focus on finding recurring clients at first or just one-time projects? I would say at first start with one-time projects, right? You need quick results, quick pieces, quick so you can learn, iterate, get better, and also start collecting portfolio pieces. With recurring work, most of the times it takes longer to get results, to see results, and also it's way harder to win recurring projects at the beginning because clients want to see a track record, which you don't have at the beginning. So start with the one-time, one-off, super quick projects. The first ever projects that project that I've done, the one that I share with you, the concrete flooring company, was just one homepage, and that's how I started. And the way I actually, some backstory on that, the way that I actually won that project on Upwork was I didn't have any sort of portfolio or any previous jobs. That was my first ever job. Coming right out of the gate, right out of studying the AWI course, what I've done was basically, what I did was basically telling the client, hey, I'd love to work with you. I don't have any past portfolio piece. I was totally honest, and that's another big point, being honest. But I can totally rewrite half of this page for free. If you like it, we can work together. If not, no worries. I'm gonna go to the next one. I wrote the copy, they looked at it, they liked it, and yeah, and we started working together. So at the beginning, never shy away from doing at least some free pro bono work. That's always good to start, and it can help you win the first small project that can build everything else. As far as niches, how do they work in copywriting? Niches, I always recommend at least to find a focus, but it's not really about what works, what doesn't. At the beginning, you want to focus on a niche because it exponentially makes learning faster. And it also helps you build up the processes that you need to look professional, to systematize everything, to simplify all the work as well. You don't want to have to work with 1,000 different industries, types of copy, because again, you won't be able to truly master a single area. I've always tried to first master one type of copy and then move on to another one. That's always been my approach. So at the beginning, I kind of was in a sense lucky myself because I've always been a big user of software products, web-based software products. So the first thing I stumbled on this a really good copywriter called Josh Garofalo, which you can follow everywhere, Twitter mostly. And I saw that he was a SaaS copywriter. That kind of inspired me to start moving along the same lines. So that's where I focused my business. It was mostly SaaS copywriting at the beginning. Then, when I started working with an agency and did some UX, I also included e commerce because I saw the potential. So now I kind of have two niches, you could call them, but the type of copy that I write is the same for both, and that's important because that's the skill that I focused on trying to master. Okay, so as with most of the stuff that I say, it's all about the learning and the skills. That's where you should always start. If you're not obsessed about the learning and the skills, you could totally move on to another area of freelancing or business. In B2C, is B2C or B2B better? We're starting out again, talking about specialization. I would say B2B is slightly harder to get into at the beginning, mostly because buyers are first more sophisticated. They know a bit more about copywriting, marketing. Sometimes they already have a marketing team in house, so you kind of need to be more like the expert coming in. With B2C, it might be easier. It's not necessarily true, but usually I find that B2C is a bit easier entry point, and you should probably consider that when starting out. But it doesn't mean that one is better than the other. It's also about personal preference and also finding the types of clients that you like to work with. Do you like to work with enterprise companies with huge teams of like 1,000 or 100 per people, or do you like to work with like a solo founder or a super small team of like 5 to 10 people? That's something that you'll have to decide, but typically a good entry point is a solo founder of a small business who doesn't know anything about copywriting. They don't have a marketing team in house, and you are kind of the entry level expert that's going in and helping them out. Last question was, how would be the best way to know if you're good? Okay, yeah, this is pretty simple. When you want to know whether you're good enough to start getting clients, it's just to start and go and find work to do. The only signal that tells you that you're good enough, it's the work and the results that you get. There's no way around it. So, yeah, the beginning is going to be tough. That's part of the process and part of the learning. Okay, last but not least, this person had a great point about he's deciding whether to go from software engineering into copywriting. He's got some experience, but there's the threat of AI looming on copywriters. Is that true or not? And what I basically said is that first, if he's passionate about copywriting, it means that there's something nagging at him. So as mentioned, follow kind of your obsession, your passion is fluffy a bit, but there has to be some kind of passion, some kind of obsession for learning, for a skill. And if you have it, just go and explore it. It doesn't mean that you have to leave your other field of preference right away. It can be a gradual thing, so it's not either or. And as far as AI, the point that I see a lot of pros make, and I'm also kind of agreeing with them, is that AI is not necessarily a threat, at least not for the foreseeable future. The opposite, actually. AI right now is super helpful. If you ever tried and used ChatGPT, it's a cool app that you can try out for free. AI has been very helpful for a lot of copywriters already in supporting them in creating like starting prompts and getting you ideas. It's insanely helpful if you want to analyze data. It can extract themes. It can help you analyze information. It can help you get started and avoid the blank page. So there's a lot of ways that AI can actually help you. And if you ever tried to have an AI write final copy, you'll soon realize that it's way too early for that, for the copy to be finalized and consider good copy. So as a copywriter, you still have to have the final word on that. So keep that in mind. But yeah, AI, as a lot of other technological innovations right now, is just a tool that any copywriter, I think, should get up to speed on and start learning, because it's gonna be one of the next things, right? So just as with anything else that you're learning in copywriting, it should be part of your roadmap. Cool. This has been a lot of fun. If you want to check out the rest of the answers on Reddit, I'm going to post the link in the description below. If you like this, subscribe. Next week, I'm probably going to have a teardown of a new website, which is going to be fun. And yeah, thank you very much for watching.